up? My name is Joanna Portillo, and October 20th, 2006 at 4:16 p.m. I was born in Denver City, Texas. So as a little girl, I was a very active and hyper little girl, and I was just a crazy little girl as my mom described it. And when I started elementary school, I was labeled as the very loud kid, loud little brown girl kid. So it got to the teachers, and they were a little concerned about me because I was very loud. I was not really disruptive. I was just very loud, and the other kids were all like, you know. So they had set a little parent meeting stating that I was a very loud, and they had offered to put me in a little class to help me, quiet down, but my mom had declined it, so she was like, no. So now that I think about it, I am very glad that my mom never put me in there, because it's just who I am. It's my personality. So a couple years later, I go into junior high. So in junior high, it was my first day of 6th grade, and in 6th grade I had this little friend group. We were like, I was in the popular group. I don't know how to describe it, but I was in a popular group, and we were labeled, our little group was labeled as the Queen Girl Squad. And now that I think about it, I think it's very funny, and it's embarrassment, and some of my friends they bring it up and we just laugh about it because it was cringy and embarrassing. So yeah, so we were labeled as the Queen Girl Squad, and so there was multiple girls in there, and while in that group we had to follow some rules. So those rules were that on Mondays we would braid our hair like this, and on Fridays we would curl our hair wearing the brand Pink with some ripped skinny jeans and Converse, white Converse or gray or black Converse. And at the time, 12-year-old me, I barely learned how to straighten my hair. I didn't know how to curl my hair. My mom said how to curl my hair, and my mom didn't buy me these shirts pink at all. She only brought me like bras and panties, that's it. So I didn't wear any until on Friday. I go to school, my hair straight, and just wearing like something that I would just usually wear at school, which is like just like a shirt, jeans, and like shoes and some Vans, right? And so the president, or the leader of the group, was mad. So she was really mad, and from there they gave me the silent treatment. The entire group gave me the silent treatment. And so during lunch we have our own little group table. We get to choose wherever we want, so we have our group, and they gave me the silent treatment. So I was like, the heck. So then in that class I have one of the leaders, and she gives me a note. It's a little note, and it's all like folded up, and she gives me that note, and I open it up, and it basically says, you're kicked out of this group. And so I was like, hello? Like, I didn't do anything wrong. And it says, I remember it saying that you're out of this group, you're not following the rules, you're just hanging out with other people. And I'm like, what the heck? And so I start crying in the middle of class, not like crying, trying not to like disrupt the class or something like that. And so I come home, I tell my mom about it, and she goes, oh well, like go find another group or go find more friends, or whatever. So I eventually do find a friend. I start hanging around with them. So around the second semester of school, I start hanging out with the wrong group, and this time it was around, I say, May. And so I started hanging out with this wrong group of people, and we're in PE. And so one of my friends had a device, a vape, and it was those huge ones, those very huge expensive ones, and I remember it was purple. And so I was like a little curious. I was 12, 13, I was 13, and I was a little curious. So we go into the locker room. In that locker room, it's like, it has where all these sports equipment is, like jerseys, sweats, balls, and everything. So we go in there, and I try it, and I was just wanted to try it, And so there was these girls, they're like the quiet girls, and they were twins, and they saw us, and we were like, "You're not gonna tell anybody, right?" And they were like, "No, we're not gonna tell anybody." And they eventually told somebody, and they called us into the office. And so my mom had taken me out of school to go to a doctor's appointment, and when we came back, the principal had called us into her office, and they told my mom and me in front, sitting with my mom. And my mom was so mad that she like wanted to give me a whooping, but you know, we're at school and she kind of can't get arrested for that. When she did it, she was just crying because she was like disappointed in me. And when I saw her, I was like, oh, I know I messed up. So I started crying, and I got 14 days of DAP. And well, before all that happened, in May, it was at least 2 weeks, I think a week before spring break, we were at lunch, and my mom walks in, and I'm like, why is my mom walking in? Like, that's a little weird. And she goes, when the teachers that were there that were taking care of us, she goes, "You're leaving." I was like, my mom's taking me out for lunch? And I was like, ugh. But I was like, okay. So we walk into the car, and we're at the stoplight, and so I was like so confused on why my mom like took me out of school, because she never does unless it's doctor's appointment or we gotta like go somewhere. And so she tells me, "Your dad has been arrested by ICE." And I was like a little confused, and I processed it through my head, and I started crying because I didn't know what was gonna happen. I was 12 years old. I didn't know what was gonna happen. So we go to Lubbock because that's where my dad was at the time, and we're barely entering War Fort, going on to the highway, and we're getting there. My mom gets a phone call, and it's my dad, and he goes, "They're taking me to Dallas." And my mom was like, what? Like, no. So we had to turn back around, and my mom at home, my mom was making phone calls, asking people like, "Hey, do you know a good lawyer?" And she eventually found a good lawyer in Dallas. And so the entire spring break weekend, we were in Dallas talking to the immigration lawyer. We came back, and then that same week it was my dad's court date. And during that entire day, we were up and about. My grandma was with me. My mom was very stressed, and so the judge was like, "Okay, we're gonna let you go," and this and that. Like, I don't remember what exactly she said, but I remember saying, "Okay, we're gonna let you go." So we were happy, and so we go into the immigration office, and my mom was waiting to get a paper signed, I think, and we were right there for like a long time. I was with my grandma, and we couldn't go in there because it could only be like one person. So my mom went in there. We stayed in the car, and so after that, my mom gets paper, and we had to drive all around, literally all around this side of Dallas. We had to drive all around to this side. It was like an hour away. And so I go pick up my dad from the jail, and so from there, it was around 5ish, and the jail closes at 6, and we got there at like 5:30, I think. Remember, I really don't remember. We got there enough time to get him out, because if we didn't get on time, we had to wait till the next day. And so we already checked out of hotel, so that means we had to go get another hotel and stay, or like stay in a car or something. So we were there, and we waited there for like a couple of minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and I see my dad walk out. And so I see him walk out, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's my dad, you know. And so I ran up to him, I gave him the biggest hug, and we're like, oh my god, he is home, like, he's home. So after that, I came back to school. Everything was fine. 7th and 8th grade year is when 7th grade is when we can enter athletics. So in athletics, I was in basketball, track, and I think those are the only two I was in. And so 8th grade was the same. 8th grade, I joined cross country. I was still in basketball. I was in band. I forgot to mention that. I was in band my entire middle school year. So yeah, and so freshman year comes around, and now I'm in a much bigger school, much more people, new people, way people older than me. So I was in band, and I met so many new people. I was in marching band. It was the best marching band year ever. I met new people. I was in cross country, track, basketball, and yeah. So around sophomore year, it was so before my sophomore year, it was time for cheerleading tryouts, and before that I had tried out for at least 3 years in a row, and I have never made it until going into sophomore year. I had made it, and so I walk up to the high school, and in the on the window it had said the cheerleading tryouts, and it had a list of them. And so when you're looking for my name, and I see my name on like the bottom, and I'm like, I was in shock, and I was happy, and I started crying because like I finally made it, you know. And so after that, I told my mom and I told my best friend, and they were all so happy for me. So the summer going into my sophomore year, it was band, cross country, and cheer, band, cross country, and cheer, and so that kept me very busy and out of trouble. And so yeah, so my sophomore year was band, cross country, cheer, the fall, and basketball. I had quit before the season even started because I had a very bad experience with teammates and coaches, so I was like, I am not about that, so I left. So now I was just in cheer, track, cross country, and band. Going into my junior year, which is now, I'm still in all of that. So yeah, and right now it's going pretty good. I'm doing college classes, cross country, track, band, and hopefully after I graduate I can go into Texas Tech University or UTCA and get my degree in immigration lawyer or business. So yeah, that is all about me.